Hall discusses the role of encoding and decoding from the vantage point of television production in his article titled Encoding and Decoding in the Television Discourse. He discusses the process of television production as a series of codes and signs that are constructed in order to relay specific messages. He also discusses the role that television production plays in encouraging a preferred meaning or reading, and he also discusses the issue of misreading signs. Hall ends by discussing three types of codes and how they affect the viewer's connected meaning. The codes are dominant/hegemonic, professional, and negotiated. Hall argues that television is structured to produce a specific message. This message is organized and transmitted through the operation of codes. These codes are structured to relay a certain message while adhering to the rules of language. The successful transmission of this message requires the traditional materials of television production such as film, cameras, etc. Hall explains encoding as the process where an event becomes a story. Essentially, by being turned into televisual image, the raw historical event becomes different because of the signs and rules of language that are now imposed on it. The communicative exchange in television is described as a sort of linear closed-circuit process where the broadcasting organizations, who already have rigid institutional structures and networks of production, organize certain routines and technical infrastructures. These routines and infrastructures are necessary to produce the program. The production process initiates the message that the program is broadcasting. Hall says that production and the reception of the television message are not identical but they are related. He further explains that while production and reception are linked, they are still separate parts of the communicative process. Hall uses the formulaic TV Western to explain how certain discourses are heavily encoding with certain rules, content expectations, etc. The Western is a good example of a televisual language where the message being decoded by the viewer is likely to be highly symmetrical to that in which it had been encoded. It is a more straightforward discourse where the expectations of the view are in line with the intentions of the producers. Let us look at visual signs. Is a picture of a cow the same as an actual cow? That's the complex nature of visual signs. Every visual sign is encoded with numerous amounts of information, and this has been quoted by Stuart Hall as the fundamental perceptual codes which all culture members share. Visual signs are more universal. While it can be easy to think that visual signs, because of their universality, are simple and straightforward, they can actually lead to misreadings because they appear so transparent and easy to read. We assume that the image is only saying one thing. We oversimplify the decoding process by assuming that the visual sign is empty of connotative meaning. Let us take a look at connotative signs. Visual signs are also connotative signs. The connotative sign of the visual sign is the point where the denoted sign intersects with the deep semantic structures of a culture and takes on an ideological dimension. The connotative sign represents that point in culture where the word means something else on its own because of the perceptual codes that the word represents. Hall uses advertising as an example of a visual sign that is nearly void of denotative communication. The visual signs in advertising are full of connotative communication. Every aspect of the ad connotes a quality, a situation, a value, or an inference. Hall then describes three different kinds of connotative reading, such as dominant/hegemonic code, professional code, and negotiated code. Dominant/hegemonic code is when the viewer is operating within the dominant or hegemonic code when they take the message full and straight. They read the message entirely as the maker intended it. When you look at professional code, the viewer is operating within the professional code when they receive the message transmitted by a broadcasting professional. This message may be highly similar to the dominant code, but it may also contradict it in some ways. The professional code is highly linked to the dominant code, and while the professional code is relatively independent of the dominant code, it still operates within the hegemony of the dominant code. The professional code is tied to the dominant code since the controllers of the dominant code also control the news reporters, producers, etc. However, these broadcasting professionals are still able to spin the dominant code if they so choose. I think a good example of this would be when the ruling political party sends out a press release or a brief, etc. Taking that message full and straight would be to read it as a dominant code. So, when some broadcasting professionals deliver this message as almost identical to the dominant code, that is one way of seeing the message. Whereas other news professionals may take a different spin on the same message, and these news professionals enter the professional code. What do you mean by negotiated code? The viewer is operating within a negotiated code when they acknowledge some aspects of the dominant code, and those aspects are usually removed from their immediate community. At the same time, the people or the viewer who is operating within this negotiated code is also disagreeing with aspects of the dominant code that might negatively impact them personally. Hall gives the example of a worker agreeing that a bill to restrict union rights might make sense from a national economics viewpoint. However, that doesn't mean that the worker won't ardently oppose the ramifications of the bill when it impacts his own salary and his own working conditions. Stuart Hall developed reception theory, popularly known as audience theory or reader's reception theory, in 1973. His essay, Encoding and Decoding Television Discourse, focuses on the encoding and decoding of the content given to the audience, no matter the form of media such as magazines or papers, television or radios, and games. Today, theorists who do the analysis of media through reception theory often derive results from the experience of an audience created by watching either a cinema or a game or by reading books. The reception theory concept points out that a movie, book, or game, though it has none or some inherent meaning, when the audience who watch them or experience it are responsible for making a meaning to it. The audience come into an understanding of the happenings of the text or the screen. The audience receives the creative work done and perceives to its content in either similar or different. The meaning of the message can change in the way they see it fit according to their social context. When it comes to encoding, the encoded messages usually contains shared rules and symbols common with other people. So the encoder or the sender has to think how the receiver will perceive the message. When it comes to decoding, decoding would be a successful delivery only if the message sent by the encoder is understood completely to its content as it was intended. The messages sent with verbal/non-verbal cues and gestures don't bring the same result always as intended by the sender, bringing an altogether different meaning and insight to the concept sent. Thus, the distortion occurs when the audience cannot understand the concept of having a different take on the conclusion itself. Such distortion can be because of the age, it can also be because of gender and other aspects such as religion, race, even political views, ethnicity, and to some extent class, culture, and the mood in which the audience receive the message, etc. It is difficult to gather the information necessary to analyze every single audience's experience belonging to a mass. So, the media houses and other social handles come in a useful tool to reach the bigger mass as to get to know their experience and their understanding. That is why we have forms such as press releases, and other forms of publicity such as advertisements, fan letters, and fan message boards and reviews. And these things serve as useful materials for us, the analysts, to see how the reception has been. Here, the perceiving of the work can be divided into three categories: the dominant reader, the negotiated reader, and the oppositional reader. Who is a dominant reader? They are the audience who take in the work as given by the director with no extra notes attached. For example, teacher asking the student to submit their assignments or parent implying on the child to clean their room is a direct message. The child understands the message properly and it is followed by the child. In the Harry Potter series, Lord Voldemort is a bad guy. And how have the media producers have conveyed it is they have conveyed this message to us because Voldemort has a bald head, he wears a black cloak, he has sunken eyes, and he speaks with a cold and cruel voice. And his threatening presence to his surroundings is being conveyed to us by all these things. Who is a negotiated reader? The negotiated reading here is the audiences who think that they know and are aware of the acts made in the film are bad and not right. But they get on to accept that it is fine because there is a reason behind it. Thus, accepting the author's message even though it goes against the audience's personal convictions. For example, many video games and comics contain contents that are against our personal views, but we still read them, we still play them, we enjoy and accept the content given to us despite the situation. For example, fictions like zombie hunting. Who is an oppositional reader? The audience who have no acceptance for the author's takes on the concept of the film or the subject it handled is the oppositional reader. It can be morally wrong, it can be emotionally disturbing, and certain unnecessary adult contents of violence might be there, and the religious belief and political outlooks may be something that you do not agree upon. And these are the things that will make the audience reject the idea. For example, in the year 1970 to 1980, it was seen as an era in Indian films where they showed smoking as a sign of prestige. It was seen as a sign of image, wealth and power, and even flourishing happiness. Whereas the reality states otherwise, because smoking causes cancer. And the pleasant smell of smoking is nothing more than juxtaposed, where in reality is an unpleasant smell and is perceived as a very unhealthy habit. In conclusion, reception theory is far more complex in understanding because each mind perceives it in its own way. A single person can have a mixed reaction of being either a dominant or an oppositional or even a negotiated reader or a combination of all these three things when they are going through the process of receiving the message. The content producer cannot judge for every single individual perspective. The conclusion taken by the audience will be right and their perspectives will change as when the time goes by and will feel just right for the conclusion derived at that moment.